Welcome, listeners, to the first of monthly movie reviews. My name is John Murphy of Omerkita Pictures.
And I'm Ian Benoit of Geek Reviews. This
first movie review is actually very special to me, for different reasons. It's a movie I didn't watch as a child. It didn't inspire me to become a filmmaker. I didn't watch the TV series. I didn't know there was an animated series of it. But it is the 1980s classic RoboCop, starring Peter Weller, directed by Paul Verhoeven. And and the reason why this is very special is just the setting and the character. But we'll get to that. We'll get to that later. The whole premise of the movie is that a cop, when killed on duty, was selected by this mega corporation to transform his body into a robot. So he's a cop, and at first he's like this he's the super cop. He's programmed with the three directives to make good on the promise to serve and protect. But as the movie progresses, bits of his old life start to bleed through, and so man and machine seem to start to conflict with each other as this super cop, his mission to uphold the law is to finally get justice for his murder.
Yes, and the three directives are as follows: serve the public trust, protect the innocent, uphold the law. And then there is a fourth classified directive that is revealed later.
Yeah, and this is okay, because I saw this movie like recently, like a couple years ago, and even though some of it is dated, like art design, even visual effects, its themes are just timeless.
Oh yes.
And so the reason why I have a special connection with this is that it's set in it. The main character, his last name is Murphy, and so which is my last name. And now, normally that wouldn't be a big deal for me. I mean, I would like any character in any movie with the last name Murphy. I was like, hey, my name. But the reason why RoboCop is so special is because it takes place in Detroit. Now, my dad, when he was a kid, he actually grew up in Pontiac, Michigan, which is a suburb of Detroit. And for reasons that I won't get into, him, his brother, and his mom, my grandma, they had to move away in 1965. So they actually got out of Detroit 2 years before the infamous riots happened. And still to this day he wonders what would happen. But that's why I have such a very special connection with this movie, is because I feel like this was made for my family.
Represent.
Yes. So I finally get that whole representation matters. I mean, if there was a lot of movies that had characters named Murphy and was set in Detroit, I would probably go up to people and say, "Hey, that was my dad in RoboCop." But yeah, I like this movie. I really can't find anything bad bad about it. Ian, what about
Neither
you?
can I. No, I mean, it's a solid movie, and yes, the effects and a couple of the themes are a bit dated, but the core themes are just so timeless that it can connect with just about anybody. And it taps into a very philosophical argument as well. Where is the line between someone who's human and someone who's machine? I mean, we're getting very close to this technology already.
Mm-hmm.
And I think at some point we'll have to come to that conclusion. Where is that line?
I know. And the movie is just so cleverly written. There's a lot of commentary, a lot of satire, especially when it comes to corporations such as the mega corporation Omni Consumer Product,
abbreviated to OCP.
Yeah, OCP. And the thing is that the writer by the name of Newmeyer has stated of how the future that he and Miner that they wrote for RoboCop has slowly become a reality of how corporations seem to be a part of all of our lives, and and how they promise to take care of us.
Yeah.
And especially the scene in the bathroom, which again is just classic film staging right there. Hitchcock and Tarantino. No, not Hitchcock. I think Kubrick and Tarantino would have pivotal scenes take place in a restroom. That's supposed to symbolize vulnerability. And so in RoboCop, when the big guy, Dick Jones,
he's aptly named.
Yeah, when he saying to Miguel Ferrer's character of how he intentionally made Ed 209. You know, he didn't really care that Ed 209 was flawed. I mean, in the long run, there was military contracts and spare parts for 25 years. And that kind of reminded me of this conversation I had with a coworker of how Apple is so successful with their phone products, is that he says that they already have these features already in their phone. They just don't reveal them until the next model. So it's kind of like this corporate underhandedness, that kind of thing that this movie I think this movie is really great at capturing, or at least satirizing.
Yeah. And I really enjoy this movie because, I mean, if we look around at corporations today, like you said, Apple and Google and things like that, they're buying out and Walmart actually. Mm-hmm. They're buying out smaller things and they're basically becoming a monopoly. And I'm gathering that's what OCP has become in this film. I mean, we don't hear of any other technology branches, and we see exactly how they entered a contract with the Detroit Police Department. They're running the police. Mm-hmm. They are the police. Mm-hmm. And that can lead to, like we said, Directive 4.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is part of the corruption and the underhandedness. Is Directive 4 is later revealed that he's not allowed to harm any senior member of the company,
or even arrest them.
Yeah. and which again kind of, and there's a lot of things going on in my head. I can't organize them. But yeah. And really, on the Wikipedia page, there was also an interesting philosophy of the idea of masculinity, and I had to check to see if this actually came out recently. And no, this came out in the early 90s. Of how this is a very interesting take on masculinity. Back in the days when I grew up, you know, to be a man was to be all, you know, cold and unfeeling, essentially like a machine. Which they did turn Murphy into. But what RoboCop is making is that to be a man, to essentially be human, whether you're a man or a woman, is to feel, to remember your own humanity. And I think the scene where RoboCop is going through his old house, you know, it's empty. There's it's run down and it's trying to be sold, and all these memories are overlaying from his perspective. Is very sad and moving, but it really puts the audience in his place.
Yes, I mean, and even with the near constant ramble of the telemarketer, I guess we could call it. There's these little video screens that are in every room explaining what it's about and trying to get you to buy the house. Mm-hmm. And whenever that cuts in, it's like you can see why he starts to get emotional. I mean, this is his house. This is where he raised a family. And all the memories we see of his family are very good. He even says before, while he's still officially Alex Murphy, we see the relationship he has with his son and how he wants to please his son. Mm-hmm. And when he gets to the last room, he turns and punches the stupid telemarketer.
I know. And so that kind of also brings up that the line between man and machine, is how at first when you see him and he brings down the bad guys, he stops a robbery, he subdues the hostage, the councilman who took hostages, saves a potential rape victim, and also sort of like coldly rejects her advances, which I thought was funny. He goes, you seem to have suffered a shock. I will notify a nearby rape crisis center. Yes. But then when he's recharging, and then these memories and this dream, the last thing that he remembers plays through, and even before he goes out on patrol, after his introduction, when he demonstrates that, you know, his firepower, he twirls the gun. So, and
they showed that towards the beginning. That's why he likes to do that for his son, because that TJ Laser show that his kid liked to watch, and
yeah,
it just
and so the line between man and machine is very blurred in this movie, such as there's still bits and pieces of Murphy's old life.
Although I wouldn't say that there's no line, because we do see there is a line brought to us in the form of Ed 209.
Yeah. I guess it also kind of reinforces the idea is that no matter how sophisticated technology gets, the human element is always the variable.
Yes, because humans are smart. We're crafty.
And we're flawed.
We can. Yeah. I mean, Ed 209, I think it's even stated that it is the perfect military thing. And when you introduce the human variable when going up against it, that negates the perfect effect.
And what about the glitch, the minor setback, as as Jones called it? Wouldn't that also?
You call this a glitch?
Wouldn't that also be part of the human element? I mean, even though it's a machine, it still has to be programmed.
Yeah, I guess in a way, yeah.
And I guess what's also great about blurring the line between man and machine was the scene in the cocaine factory when RoboCop pretty much beats the shit out of Clarence Boddicker, played by Kurtwood Smith, Red Foreman from that '70s show. My God. Oh my God, and it was just so...
I love his acting in this film.
So do I. It was all acted, but Kurtwood Smith, Ronnie Cox, Peter Weller, we're all very good. Even Nancy Allen as Lewis. So
I'm glad that they introduced a female cop into this, because yes, we see other female cops, but they don't say much.
Mm-hmm.
She is a dynamic character,
and we'll get to characters. We're kind of I think we're focused on themes and right now.
Oh yeah.
But
my mind's all over the place. I love this movie so much.
I know. But now, I talked to you, Ian, about this last night. That the scene where RoboCop is arresting Clarence Boddicker is a very important moment, actually, and a very moving moment, actually, for not only Murphy but even law enforcement in general. It turns out that when they filmed that scene, or when the director was actually afraid that showing RoboCop throw a bad guy through 3 panes of glass would be seen as like too violent, or even too forceful for the police. So they actually had a test screening for some police officers, and they liked it. The reason why they liked it is because they liked seeing a cop who could do something that they ultimately couldn't do in real life. And the cops, they want to. Some of them, there are good cops. I know there are good cops, and I know there's bad cops. RoboCop is a good one, and they loved that there was a good cop who was able to do something that they couldn't do while also still reading the Miranda rights. But what was also very important to Murphy / RoboCop was that Boddicker ultimately reminds him that he is a cop, and so when he goes into arrest mode and the third directive is displayed, it's kind of ambiguous. You kind of don't know if it was Murphy's sense of duty, or if it was the machine that overwrote, I guess. Overwrit. Oh my God. My white trash is showing. It was. You don't know if it was the programming or Murphy's sense of duty that overwrote, or at least brought him back from his rage, his need for vengeance, because him beating up Clarence Boddicker is kind of like retribution for the fucking hailstorm of bullets that
oh my God, that scene was
brutal.
Very brutal. There's a lot of brutal scenes in this.
Mm-hmm. Oh, what do you expect? It's from the 80s.
Yeah, true.
but that's what I thought was very important is that it's a cop who even though he feels justified in getting revenge on his murder, he's still a cop. He has a sense of duty.
Yeah.
And so that's why I really like that scene. Not only because seeing actually the whole cocaine factory scene, just seeing Kurtwood Smith just command this overall command the whole scene, and then to ultimately lose it to the cop is just, I thought, was very well done.
Oh yeah, I especially enjoyed the slight little poof that every time one of the little cocaine bottles made it help obscure the scene.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed that cinematography.
Oh yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of good cinematography. I like the POV. I like the POV shots, from RoboCop, because it's a good way to it's just a good way to kind of break the rules of filmmaking. You're not supposed to have characters look at the camera.
Yeah.
Let's see. One bit of cinematography that is actually from the very beginning. 2 years ago when I saw this movie, I would have thought just would have made no sense. But it's after Murphy suits up in the locker room, and there's a close up of his name on the locker, and you're kind of thinking, why would they show that? Is that just to remind us who this guy is? Not necessarily.
Because in the same scene, we see another police officer. I forget what his name is, but it was revealed at the
Fredrickson. He was
very beginning. Yeah, that's right, Fredrickson.
He was critically
we
injured.
see, yes, by Clarence, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And with the news story that in the very beginning that talked about him, it said blah 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 blah, and then we go and the newscaster even says good luck, and when we go to that scene, it turns out he didn't make it, and the police chief is cleaning out the locker to send to his family. And that resonates especially with Murphy's story. I mean, at the time, this was his first day on the job, right?
Was his first. He was transferred from Metro Station South.
Yeah, so this was his first time at that station.
Yes.
Working there. So I'm sure he told his family that, hey, I'm being transferred. Like classic 80s TV families do. You sit around, talk at dinner.
Yeah.
And obviously the wife would probably be concerned, because I don't think we're told that much about the situation over in his previous area.
No.
But we do know the situation in this part of Detroit.
Yeah. And so the close-up shot of his name on the locker is to foreshadow that the same fate's going to happen to him.
Yes, his coming death.
And so that's that. I thought that was a really great shot, really great shot, and a really good storytelling, good writing on that.
Oh yeah.
So, all right. I think now let's go to characters, and Ian, why don't you take over for this, because I'm realizing that I've been speaking a whole lot.
Well, let's just start with our main character, Alex Murphy.
All right.
Alex Murphy is, like we said, a police officer who was transferred to the Detroit area, more than likely by OCP.
Mm-hmm.
And he is, like in the synopsis, he is killed in the line of duty, and parts of his organic body is transferred to the robotic one. Based on what we see, parts of his brain and his face.
Mm-hmm.
And originally his left arm.
Yeah, but the head of the robotics division, he wanted full robotic prosthesis.
Yeah,
because he wanted him to be one bad motherfucker.
And as we progress, we see how Alex handles his new body and his new way of life. I mean, he doesn't need to eat, he doesn't sleep. He needs to recharge, which he does down in the police station. In his, what I guess we can call it a throne. He had his own throne.
His cage.
Yeah. And I actually think that's a commentary on the film, because yes, he is superhuman.
Mm-hmm.
He can do something no one else can do. So they give him a chair of honor, and yet he himself is a prisoner, hence being in a cage.
It's a very good observation, yeah.
So this is essentially Alex's story, how he handled being a cybernetic organism.
Mm-hmm.
And a very little organism at that.
Peter Weller did a very fantastic job portraying not only Alex Murphy but RoboCop, being human, especially the scene where he's twirling his gun, and then when the humanity is just stripped away from him and his movements are very stiff and very robotic. Even his directions are not uneven. They're like in a straight, perfect line.
Yes, and I have to say, even without seeing his eyes, it's just a visor that covers even his nose. It just goes down to right above his mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Even without seeing almost any of his face, we get so much emotion from him.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah, it's his movement it's RoboCop's movement that I can't get over. Probably because I just discovered there was this Japanese musical group that actually does street performances with synchronized robotic movements, and oh man, it's just mesmerizing to see. But even when he's like in pain or malfunctioning, there's still a little bit of that jittery movements, and yeah, it's just great acting right there.
Oh yeah.
All right. So who's the next character you want to talk about?
Let's move on to Lewis.
Okay. Yes, Officer Lewis. A character that I'm pretty sure most of the culture forgot.
Yeah.
Honestly, I guess this is why I like movies from the past, because in how they treat female characters. Because I think nowadays when you treat female characters have to actually act like a man, act as kind of overbearing and annoying as I guess Rambo.
Yeah.
But Nancy Allen's character Lewis, she gets a very good introduction. Is that she takes down a criminal that's resisting arrest. She kicks the crap out of him, and honestly, if you get the context, it's not emasculating it at all. It just makes sense. I mean, you're in Detroit. It's still healing from the riots that happened like 20 years before that. 20 years before the events in the movie, if the timeline is still intact. So you have to learn to, take down people with your bare hands if you have no weapon. You got to learn to fight.
Yes, and I especially enjoyed the chief of police line after we see him take him down.
What was it? What was that line?
Lewis, when you're done fucking around with your freaking convict, get over here.
Yeah, that's right. And she also what kind of further get she's also what helps RoboCop try to get a link back to his own humanity. Because of the limited amount of time that she spent with him. I mean, she got to know him briefly, but she's the one who ultimately brings him back from the machine part.
Yes, she saw during the scene, target practice, I guess we could call it. Mm-hmm. She sees him twirl his gun and put it into his holster.
Mm-hmm. And
which he actually does flawlessly as a machine, because during his human stage he was still practicing it.
Yeah, and he was still pretty good at it.
Yeah.
And she rescues him when he's shot at by the SWAT team. She helps him recalibrate his targeting system. And she's not, and even when they're going out on patrol for the first time, and he takes over the driver's seat, and pretty much says, I like to drive when breaking in a new partner, and she doesn't take offense to that. She has this look that says, okay, I'll humor you. She's, and also, and even in IMDb, when Nancy Allen was actually cast, she originally had long hair, and she had to have it cut shorter and shorter until it was just right, according to Paul Verhoeven, because he wanted to desexualize her. He didn't want her to be like that over-sexualized piece of eye candy for 80s people. And so that's what I like. That's how you write a female character. That's how you write a strong female character. Same thing of how you do it for Wonder Woman.
Oh yeah.
And also at the end she gets shot by Boddicker, and she doesn't fall down and die, get that dirty hairy scene. No, she crawls, grabs the big fucking gun, and shoots the second to last guy.
And a beautiful explosion of fire.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
It was a firefight.
Oh yeah, and
I'm sorry, I had to make that.
Yes, you did. Great. Boondock Saints, my favorite movie. Seriously, you must watch that movie religiously. Get it?
Anyway.
Oh, and also, what's her response when Murphy asks if she's when Murphy's checking on her? she goes, "I'm a mess," and I'm like, "That's an understatement." See, that's.
Don't worry, they'll fix you. They fixed everything.
That was awesome. I really like her character. I want more female characters like her and Sarah Connor from Terminator 2 and Wonder Woman.
What about Sigourney Weaver from Alien?
Her too. I want more characters. I want more female characters like her because I feel that that's an empowering female character. Not like how the public relations handled the recent Ghostbusters movie, which I still have to see. I mean, I didn't see that because it was just a PR nightmare.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe that's something for next year.
Oh yeah, we can do that for next Halloween.
Mm-hmm. All right. Anyway, okay. Next character is Kurtwood Smith's character, Clarence Boddicker. Oh my god.
Oh. He's one of those characters that you love to hate.
I know. It turns out that he originally thought he was going to get the Dick Jones character, but when the director told him, no, you're actually getting Clarence Boddicker, and he was asked, and Smith asked why. I was like, when you wore those glasses, it reminded me of Heinrich Himmler. The guy, Hitler's right-hand man. And Verhoeven actually grew up very close to where the Holocaust happened.
Yeah. And
according to Smith, he was okay with that because not only did he feel that it made him look very intimidating, but glasses still have this social cue of intelligence, and so it and when you watch Boddicker and how he just commands the room, you can't take your eyes off of him. You don't, and especially the scene with him and Dick Jones is that you don't know who is actually in charge.
Oh yeah.
I love it. He was fantastic, and it's honestly I feel like just going through the movie, find his scenes and find parts that where where his dialogue can be enhanced by adding in dumbass. Because I don't just see him as Clarence Boddicker, I see him as Red Foreman.
Yeah, he did a great job in this movie. I loved every one of his lines is near quotable.
I know.
Well, almost every one of his lines.
I know. Bitches, leave. Oh my god.
Cops don't like me. I don't like cops.
Oh my god, he's a sadist. He's almost like the Indoraptor.
Card up above.
What?
Card up above.
Card up above. Bam! Good God.
He's such an ass.
I know. He's a perfect asshole. All right. And all right.
Who's next?
How about Ronnie Cox, otherwise who played Dick Jones, who's apparently a frequent collaborator with Paul Verhoeven because he's also the bad guy in Total Recall.
I have yet to watch that one.
It's good and funny at the same time. It's actually a little bit like RoboCop.
I'll have to track it down.
It's got Arnold Schwarzenegger, just fair warn you. So just be prepared for a lot of.
Anyway, Dick Jones.
Is just a perfect asshole too. You know,
Oh yeah.
He's the corporate asshole to Bodeker's street asshole.
Yeah. Although he's not. You can actually kind of see where he's coming from in some scenes, because he had this whole plan that would make him and the company a lot of money, and it just gets kicked aside due to a technical glitch.
You call that a glitch? And yeah, and
pretty much everyone in this movie from the corporate, except for the man upstairs, is an asshole.
Well, and that's and by the sequel, you know, everything's back to status quo. Even the head guy is an asshole.
Oh yeah.
But anyway.
And apparently also has a young lady friend as well.
Oh boy. And
well, maybe we'll get to that one at some point.
Yeah. Anyway, Dick Jones is, you know, there's really not much to him. I mean, yeah, he's a corporate asshole. He really doesn't care about you know, perfection, as long as it doesn't cost the corporation money. And again, I guess I really do like, again, the scene in the restroom where he's all up in Miguel Ferrer's face. I forget his name, his character's name.
Oh yeah, the young asshole.
The young asshole. But the scene where he kind of, you know, where he recounts his experiences to Miguel, and also says, he says, yeah, I used to call the old man too, like old fart. One time I called him asshole, but there was respect. And so with that scene, I don't know if he was referring to, you know, Miguel talking behind his back, or what, but you can kind of see it. Whereas Miguel's character kind of just like slid under the radar, which is, you know, that's what happens in corporations.
Yeah.
But then when you kind of feel like you're all big and bad, I'm the cock of the walk, there's gonna be someone there to just bring you back down. I guess it's the classic Icarus moment.
Oh yeah.
Don't fly too close to the sun.
Your wings will melt and you will die. And Dick Jones is the one that takes advantage of Directive 4.
Actually, he's the one who pretty much programmed it in, or he had the people, he had the developers program it in.
Yeah.
He called it a little insurance policy.
Can't have our creations turning on us now, can we?
Yeah, but you can kind of see there's a hint of pride that he has. He likes that he's number 2 at OCP, so he's very proud of his position, and he's proud of the steps and lengths that he had to go to pretty much to not only work his way up but even slash throats.
Yeah.
Which again, his death, he get okay, yeah, you haven't seen Total Recall, but his death is just really hilarious and over the top, and also, oh my god. So, I can't wait for you to see it, buddy. But ultimately, when I just remember that line. It's just a long fall from the top, and so not only does he die by falling, but his career and ultimately his life ended from a fall.
Yeah. Dick, you're fired! Thank you.
And I think... Okay, and I guess... I was actually gonna go on to Miguel Ferrer's character, which I just remembered was Bob Morton, but then I just remembered another moment that was also in the restroom about just the overall intimidation that Jones has, is that when they find out that he is in the restroom and he heard everything, everyone clears out.
Everyone runs.
And even the guy standing next to Bob actually stops going to the bathroom. I mean, he doesn't even. I mean, and there's just like a little urine stain in front. He wasn't even fully empty. He goes, shit, Jones, gotta get out of here.
See you, Bob.
Okay. Alright, I think that's all I can talk about Dick Jones right now, at least until we think of something else. So, now let's move on to I think this is the final character one of the final characters of Bob Morton, played by the late Miguel Ferrer.
Yeah.
Who I was actually surprised to find out he was actually a senator in Iron Man 3.
Oh.
He was the senator, and he was the one that had the daughter in the wheelchair with the missing leg.
Ah. Okay. Yeah.
And so Bob Morton apparently he's actually written as a very sympathetic character, because he's young, and so he actually wants to prove himself to the head of OCP so that he can actually get higher up. And so he's the head of the robotics division as kind of a contingency plan, because the head of OCP actually heard about Ed 209 having technical problems, and so he wanted something to fall back on.
Yeah.
So after the disastrous but hilarious result of Ed 209, so hilarious that it actually got referenced in Family Guy. Present hall pass. Right here. Second request. Present hall pass. So he takes the opportunity to just...
Yeah, he sees an opening and he takes it. That's a direct quote.
Mm-hmm. And I liked his sports analogy, is that Jones just fumbled the ball. I was there to pick it up. Yeah, and unfortunately, that's how corporations, at least how I think corporations work, is that even though there's a group of people and some of them are on teams, it's ultimately cutthroat. If someone fails, if someone I can't find another phrase for it, drops the ball, someone has to be there to pick up the slack.
Yeah.
But it's Bob Morton's hubris that that gets him killed. Is that because he's now and ultimately that's also what makes him human as well, because anyone who works a basic job, a minimum wage job, or even a retail job, when you get your paycheck, you're like, yeah, I'm on top of the world, and then the next day you're like, where'd my money go? Yeah, I guess that's what makes him a very sympathetic character, is that he wants a chance to prove himself. He takes it, and he gets too big-headed, and and unfortunately the bear that he poked actually has more power than him, both corporate and financially,
and with connections as well.
Yeah. So I think, let's see, that's all of the main characters. I guess what else were we going to talk about? How about art? How about the art design?
Ooh, I especially love the elevator shots. Every time someone went into an elevator, we got that high shot, and we just saw them rising. I love that.
Oh yeah. The art design of the build, it is very 80s, so it kind of feels like a little bit of that Art Deco that you see of old New York, but is trying to, it's the 80s in the future. It's like the building of, like the OCP building, Ed 209, the cars, and even RoboCop.
Mm-hmm.
I really like it. I don't know why. Maybe because I grew up in the 90s, so that's kind of stuff I was used to, and it just hits the nostalgia. It hits the nostalgia goggles. Yeah. Visual effects. It's
a little bit of a mixed bag.
It is a mixed bag. They are dated, but again, this was before Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
But honestly, I love the old classic special effects, because the old ones, they have that sense of mystery. You watch them and you kind of wonder, how did they do that? Some of them are actually easy to pick out. Like, you have stop motions, you have miniatures, but when Ed 209, which is clearly a stop motion miniature, is in the same room with Dick Jones, you kind of wonder, how did they do that?
And if you're not well versed in that sort of practice, that's even more so.
Mm-hmm. And the reason why I like the old classic visual effects is just the dedication, the amount of pre-planning it really just shows a true love of your craft.
Yeah. I mean, these days with computers, if we see something wrong, we can just go in and fix it.
Yeah. And not to say that modern special effects is bad. I mean, you look at the Marvel movies, some of them require the same amount of dedication and love, especially Guardians of the Galaxy 2. I mean, that had a groundbreaking program in computer generated imagery, which still pisses me off that it got snubbed for an Oscar. The same thing with Doctor Strange. But computers can tend to make visual effects faster and easier if you have the skills. Stop motions and miniatures, they require a team. It requires a collaborative effort.
Yeah. You gotta collaborate with the director and the cinematographer and the special effects and the storyboards.
And sometimes it also requires rebuilding the miniature. If something...
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's a lot can go wrong, but it's the frustrations that when you get that shot perfect and you see it in the final cut, that just makes it all worth it. It was like, oh, yes. And apparently the RoboCop suit, it was just so bulky for Peter that apparently he would lose 3 pounds a day through sweat. So they actually had to have an air conditioner installed.
Oh yeah. I mean, you can even see it a little bit.
You can see the air conditioner?
No, not the air conditioner, how bulky it is.
Oh yeah. It was so bulky that even scenes when he's in the car, he couldn't wear the full suit. He had to just wear the top half.
And that's all right, because we don't see the bottom half.
I know. I mean, and aside from the visual effects, there's a lot of practical effects too. You know, with the classic explosions, even the blood packs, and of course animatronics.
Oh yeah.
Oh, the animatronics. I really wish they would do more with animatronics. And yeah, they did with Fallen Kingdom.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but it's those old classic movies with the rubber skin. It's, for me, it blurs the line between fake and real. You know it's fake, but it reacts like it's real.
Yeah.
Alright. Let's see. Alright, I think
I have music here.
You have music? Oh, music!
Dun 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun.
The music was composed by Basil Palladores, and if you've actually watched Free Willy, that's his music. That he's also composed for Free Willy, and so which was actually one of my favorite soundtracks as a kid. And so to hear the guy that composed the music for a boy befriending a whale, who previously composed an ultra-violent movie, is like, wow, that guy's got range.
I know. But to be in that sort of field of work, you have to have range.
I think I've been talking a lot. Ian, what did you think of the music?
Oh, I loved it. It's iconic. It's so 80s for the time, but it can still really work today.
Mm-hmm.
And oh my goodness, I love it. I have the main theme on my phone. It's just so good.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it is. You have the horns that go bum 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 bum. So it's like a build-up of, the hero is here, and then when he's walking or beating the bad guys, and then you hear that the other part of the horn, the one that you were humming, and it just feels so very badass.
Oh yeah.
And it's RoboCop's it is RoboCop's theme, or I guess his character theme, because you get a slow, sad, I guess, was a piano version when he's both looking through his empty house and when he's shot at,
Yeah.
And so that's the other thing about modern music, is that some of it is just like elevator music to me. But when you have a theme, when you walk out of the theater humming it or whistling it, even though you haven't completely memorized it. That's a good composer.
Oh yeah.
Alright. Oh boy. Okay. Alright, how about is there anything else that we can talk about?
Let me check. Plot, premise, cast, effects, music, art design, writing, acting, cinematography. I think that's it. I have on here real life robotics and how we're progressing towards it, but
okay. I guess that might be more of your area, really, because I don't study robotics.
I have a very basic knowledge, but
I guess I like this. Oh, I guess we can also talk about the satire.
Oh yeah.
I guess our favorite moments.
Okay, yeah, let's go with favorite moments.
Okay.
You go first.
Okay. Let's see, favorite moments. There's a lot of good ones. I think the one when I first saw this movie, I decided the one that that first comes to my mind is the one that made me laugh so much, and that was the councilman with the hostage, and that's kind of. And it was the dialogue in there that made me realize, okay, there's definitely something more hidden in the text, and that is when he demands a car, and he goes something like, "I want it to go really fast and have shitty gas mileage." I mean, I freaking laughed at that because I was like, why would you want a car that you know has shitty gas mileage? I rewound that a couple times to make sure that I heard it correctly. And I guess it's sort of similar to how we treat fast food. We know it's bad for us, but it's convenient, and it looks good, and honestly, who has time to cook? Whereas I guess in the 80s, the idea was that it's a car, it's a piece of shit, but God, but it looks so beautiful.
Man, it goes fast.
Mm-hmm. And I especially laugh when it's called the 6000. It's called the 6000 SUX. Sucks.
I just got that.
And you gave me crap about the armor wing.
Oh, you that's a completely different topic.
Really, Miyamori wing, and I just got that it was armor wing. And no, it feels very similar. No, but
all right. Hey, I'll give you credit for that payback. I deserve that one.
But anyway, the reason why I laugh at it so much is not because it's not, haha. It's haha. It means sucks. It's kind of a tongue-in-cheek. I've kind of been careful about where exactly I am right now, but my hometown is Sioux City. It's spelled SIOUX, and we have a radio station that plays country, and it's K-Sioux, but you're only allowed 4 letters, so it's KSUX. When I see SUX in RoboCop, I'm not only seeing sucks, I'm seeing Sue. I'm seeing a shorthand for Sue. And so that's kind of funny to me, and I also like the reference to the Beast of 20,000 Fathoms. That actually turns out to be a commercial for that car.
Yeah.
which, yeah, is actually pretty 80s. Kind of reminds me of that 1984-esque commercial for the Apple II. Where the Olympian, just throws a hammer towards the screen and then everything explodes. Yeah, it only aired once, but I'm sure you can find it on YouTube. Just type in.
I have to check it out.
Just type in Apple II commercial 1984.
Alright, I'll check it out.
Alright. What are your favorite scenes?
I'm especially fond of the convenience store scene.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I mean, it's really funny because we have this crook who's trying to rob this little convenience store it's run by an old man and an old lady. I presume they're married.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just minding their own business, watching that stupid "I'll buy that for $1" show that everyone's watching.
No.
That's basically a running gag in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then when Alex Murphy, aka RoboCop, walks in, he just unloads every bullet, no effect, and then Alex just reaches up and bends the barrel.
Yeah.
And the look on the crook's face is priceless. It is the ultimate, oh shit, I fucked up.
Yeah. Let's see. Let's see, I guess another scene that I like. I guess is the when RoboCop has his dream of his murder. It actually builds up very well. It starts out pretty slow, and then it just kind of speeds up, and Peter Weller's like doing all these very jittery movements, and almost like he's kind of like being electrocuted, which is actually not that too far-fetched. I mean, neurons and circuitry, they transmit electricity.
Yeah, that's what runs our bodies.
Mm-hmm. And then when the final bullet hits, I mean, everything just stops. And that's kind of also what leads to the gas station scene when RoboCop faces the ginger on the bike. Let's see, what does IMDb call him? Emil. That's his character's name. Emil, and he says the line when he was human, and that and it sparks the memory, and just the look of fear on his face is very well done.
Oh yeah.
All right. I think now we're actually approaching the end. So, Ian, I think I'll take a page out of your book and bring up. What do you think the legacy of RoboCop?
Ah, yeah. For me, I don't know, because to be honest, it's a timeless classic. Even though it's, I don't know, what, 30 years old? Over 30 years old? Something like that?
I think about over 30.
Came out 87, right? So about...
Yeah, I have 31.
31 years. So, I mean, it's not as universal of a classic. It's more along the lines of a cult classic, sort of. But it's very good, and I think it can teach us a lot, especially in this day and age, with where we're going and how to be human.
Mm-hmm. it. I think its legacy is actually timeless and is actually a very important part of Detroit culture, even if it might not have been filmed in Detroit. I recently found out that a few years ago, there actually was a Kickstarter campaign to actually build a RoboCop statue, and they're actually in the process of building it right now.
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
It's going to be in the Detroit Science Museum, and RoboCop is apparently one of the best sci-fi movies of the late 20th century, and it's very important to Detroit, similar to how Rocky was important to Philadelphia. RoboCop is kind of like this, is like a symbol of hope that Detroit will heal, and that there are good cops in the world. Is that we just have to remember, like you said, our own humanity. And so, yeah, I think the original RoboCop will withstand the test of time.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think it'll stand up just as well, say, like the 1925 film, The Lost World. I mean, that's still watched very frequently by a lot of people because it's such a good film, even though it's a silent film. I think this will stand up to the test of time just as well.
Yeah, and it's not just because of how culturally significant, it's because of the themes that it has that we're still trying to figure out, like of humanity, of identity, and even as we get more and more oligarchical, this movie becomes more and more important to us.
Yeah.
All right, and I think that's where we'll end this movie review. Actually, how do you think we should rate it?
Yeah, sure. Let's rate it.
Okay. 5 or 10, like out of 5 or out of 10 stars?
Let's go with 10 stars.
10. Okay. Let's see. I give RoboCop an 8 out of 10.
I gotta say roughly an 8.5.
Okay. So yeah,
solid film, holds a very good thing, lot of messages and decent special effects.
Let's see, good writing, good commentary and satire, and as well as a concrete plot and very great acting.
Oh yeah.
All right, and yeah, that. Thank you everyone for listening. Do tune in for October, where me and Ian, we will be reviewing all 6 Tremors movies for the month of October. But be sure.
Happy Graboid-tober, everyone.
Yeah. Find the nearest rock.